All right, so on this new lesson, we're going to continue solving systems by elimination, but today we're going to focus on a different step. Okay, so before we would just add the equations straight down, and we would eliminate one of the variables because they made a zero pair. However, today they won't. We will need to multiply one of the equations by a -1 in order to make a zero pair. So let's look at the first problem, the first example. Okay, the first example, we have 2x, -2x minus 8y is equals to 18 for the first equation. Then for our second equation, we have -2x minus 2y is equal to 0. Okay, now for this, if you notice, if I were to add this two straight down, I don't have no zero pairs. But the -2x and the -2x on both equations could potentially make a zero pair. But in order for that to happen, I need to multiply one of the equations by a -1. Okay, so I'm going to multiply the top equation by a -1. Okay, so that means everything is going to be multiplied by -1. And when we are multiplying by -1, what we're really doing is changing the sign. So look, -1 multiplied by -2x. The -2x is positive. We have -2x, but multiplying by a negative, now we have a positive 2x. -1 multiplied by -8y. Well, the -8y becomes positive 8y because we're changing the sign. And then we do -1 multiplied by 18, and that gives me -18. So the 18 is originally positive, but multiplying by a -1 turns it into a -18. Okay, so now I have my two equations, my new equation number one. Okay, so at this point, what I want to do is add them straight down. Okay, -2x plus 2x, that's a zero pair, so it goes out. -2y plus 8y, that gives me 6y. And 0 plus -18, that gives me -18. All right, so at this point, I want y to be by itself. And it's not by itself, it has a 6. So I need to get rid of that number. In order to eliminate that, I am going to divide both sides by 6. That looks like a division sign. Like an addition sign, I mean. Okay, so divide both sides by 6, and that gives me y is 6 divided by 6, that's a 1. I don't need to write that, so it's y by itself. And -18 divided by 6, that is -3. Okay, and that is the value of y. Now we need to find what the value of x is. Okay, so we're going to find x. I'm going to solve for x. Okay, so I'm going to use my second equation, which is -2x minus 2y is equals to 0. All right, so instead of writing y, I'm going to put -3. So I have -2x minus 2 parentheses -3 is equal to 0. Okay, so I have -2x, -2 times -3, that gives me positive 6. At this point, I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. and that gives me negative 2x is equal to negative 6. If I now divide both sides by negative 2, I get x is equal to positive 3. So my solution is x is 3, y is negative 3. And example number 2, we have equation 1 is 12x minus 4y is equal to negative 8. And equation 2 is 6x minus 4y equals to negative 4. Okay, so on this one, again, I'm going to multiply the top equation by negative 1. Since I don't have any zero pairs, that's the only way to make myself some zero pairs. Negative 1 times positive 12x, we change the sign of the 12 and we get negative 12x. Negative 1 times negative 4y, the negative becomes positive, and we have 4y. Negative 1 times negative 8, again, the negative is going to be now positive. We have 8. At this point, we are going to add the two equations. So 6 plus negative 12x, that gives me negative 6x. Negative 4y plus 4y, that's a zero pair, so it goes away. And I'm left with a negative 4, the negative 4 plus 8, so that gives me 4. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 6. Negative 6 divided by negative 6, that gives me 1. And I have x is equal to, if I put this on decimals, and let me show you, I'm dividing on, what am I dividing? 4 by negative 6. Okay, so 4 divided by negative 6, that gives me this long decimal. We don't like decimals, so we click right here and put a simplified fraction. Okay, so negative 2 over 3. Now we're going to solve for y. Okay, so I'm gonna use my second equation. So 6x minus 4y is equal to negative 4. But instead of y, I'm gonna put negative 2 over 3. Okay, so 6x minus 4 stop. Instead of x, I'm going to put negative 2 over 3. So negative 2 over 3 minus 4y is equal to negative 4. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply this 2, and I'm going to go ahead and do that in decimals. 6 multiplied by negative 2 over 3. That gives me negative 4. So I go to my, and I put negative 4 minus 4y is equal to negative 4. Okay, so I want to solve for y. I want y to be left by itself. That means I need to get rid of this negative 4 and the negative 4 next to the y. We always begin working with the numbers that are farther away from the y, the variable. So I'm going to do plus 4 plus 4. And if you notice here, I have a zero pair. That means that is out. And I'm left with negative 4y is equal to On the other side, I have another 0 pair, so it also goes away. But since I have nothing else on this side, I will actually write the 0. Okay, last step is we're going to divide by -4 on both sides. And we know that dividing 0 by -4, that's going to give me 0, so y is equal to 0. So my solution is -2/3, comma 0. And again, in example number 3, I have no 0 pairs. So I have been multiplying the top equation. Now let's multiply the bottom one by -1. So that's going to give me -1 times positive 6x. I'm going to change the sign, so -6x. -1 times -6y, that's going to be, again, changing the sign, so plus 6y. Is equal to the opposite, so now I have a positive 6. Okay, and I'm going to rewrite my first equation down here, so 6x plus 3y is equals to 12. Okay, so at this point, I'm able to add the two equations, and -6x and positive 6x is a 0 pair, so it goes away. 6y plus 3y, that gives me 9y. And on the other side, 6 plus 12, that gives me 18. Okay, so next step, I want y by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by 9. I know that 9 divided by 9 is a 1, so I don't have to write that. I just write y is equals to 2. Okay, and I have the value of y. Now let's solve for x. Okay, now I'm going to use my first equation, so 6x plus 3y is equals to 12. And instead of y, I'm going to put 2. So 6x plus 3 so 6x, 3 times 2, that's 6, so plus 6 is equals to 12. Now, I want to solve for x, so I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. So I bring down the 6x, then plus 6 and -6 is a 0 pair, so it goes out. 12 minus 6, that's 6. Divide both sides by 6 so that I left x by itself. 6 divided by 6, that is a 1, so I don't need to write that. I just have x is equal to 6 divided by 6, that's a 1. So my solution is 1 comma 6. I mean 2. What am I doing 6? I don't know, why did I get the 6 from? Comma 2.